All right, y'all good?
Yes, sir.
All right. 3, 2, 1. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to NUWAVE podcast. As always, I'm your host Alpha, and today we got my man Will in the building.
What's good, y'all?
We got Lou back in the building. AstroLou, you already know, and we coming at y'all with some more deep conversations today. We're gonna cover religion, philosophy, and kind of everything in between. We're just gonna dive into it. So first off, one thing we kind of have to talk about before we even get into this is, are we religious, and what are our beliefs if we have them? So,
You want me to go ahead?
yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, for me, basically, I'm not religious. Like, my family's kind of religious, but like, I don't practice any religion. I went to a religious school, Episcopalian. So it was a lot of Christian-oriented stuff. We did chapel every Wednesday and everything. And I kind of just developed this sense of understanding that I felt that religion was like we were saying right before, like it's like a tainted.
You started straying.
Tainted thing, yeah. I think it's something that we used to have sacred to us as people, but we lost it a while ago.
Yeah, we're gonna get more into that. I mean, me personally, as far as that goes, like it's similar to a lot of people where initially as a kid you kind of brought up with the ideas with that kind of put on you, but it's not really your worldview. It's kind of what was there when you kind of came into the world type shit.
100%.
And like a lot of us, as I grow older and started learning more shit, I kind of started straying and tried to like create my own worldview. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here. It's trying to like give new perspectives, and shed light on different worldviews that you might not have even thought about. So next thing I want to get into is just highlighting the fact that in society now, like religion has played a smaller and smaller role as time goes on. Right, so I kind of just want to talk about like, why do you think that is, and is it a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, all right, so I think it's got to do a lot with like what I was just saying. Like, I think the taintedness in religion has a lot to do with the fact that most people feel that they do not have the confidence in it to blindly follow it as it was thousands of years ago, where it's you see it, you believe it, you hear these things about whatever God or faith you have, and you focus on it, and that Jones just it is what it is type shit. You know what I'm saying? And I think that in present day we take things for what we have, what we see on camera, what's physically there, and this is something that's not. And like, there's a lot of scriptures that even said you need to just believe. That's the point, you know what I'm saying? And
right.
That's not something that in how we live our life with social media and everything, it's not something we can just agree on.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that we kind of go through, like, we see people who kind of, you can notice that they take what they're given, you know what I'm saying? And they never really venture to like create something for themselves or something, of their own type shit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and you can kind of see that they're kind of just a reflection of everything around them, and they don't really have or know their true self, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's why we have these conversations though, is to maybe peel back some layers though. I mean, so do you think with this decline, do you think like with religion out of society or decreasing, think that's going to create more deep thinkers, or you think that's going to kind of start us down a path of no return type shit?
I don't think it's going to create more deep thinkers. I think it's going to create more independent thinkers. And I think that to some people that's the same thing, but in reality it's very different. I think there are people in this world who simply shouldn't think independently. Their thoughts independently, whether they're violent or they're just not something that would fit in a normal civilized society, or they're just not rational, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of people, whether it's, like I said, violence, racism, different things that naturally they have those things go across their minds. And those things, when you let those things just go and you let them think on their own, they create things like school shootings, and they create things like terrorist attacks that aren't terrorist attacks. It's us attacking us.
So you're kind of leaning more towards like the theology being a guide, and it's a good thing that it's there.
It's a moral guide. It's
guide.
a structure to how society should morally be. And in the reasoning that it was so good for so long was because it had such good moral guidance that it was unable to be ignored. And stuff like, you could not be a part of a religion because bad people were the ones that weren't a part of religion.
Right.
At one point in the time, that was how our society was. Like, if you weren't a part of it, you were bad.
Yeah, it was like criminal, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now it's like in some areas, the weird kids are the ones that goes to church on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And in some areas, like,
that's how it is.
What are you doing? Like, what? You're not outside playing with your friends? Like, why aren't you going out? Mm-hmm. And that's
so weird. It makes you think like, okay, is this becoming less thing in society a good thing or a bad thing? Like, to me, the way I look at it, it's like we see the pros and the cons, right? Like we see like the concept of the church for what it is, and we see the good things about it, and we can say those things are good, but we also see like the capitalistic money grabbing side of it that kind of fucks everything up. And as humans, this is kind of like something that almost will inevitably be there. You know what I'm saying? When you have people getting together and shit. So 100%. It's just crazy to think about it like that. So it's like, maybe, you know what I'm saying? But then it's also, when I think about how the culture has been shifting, like, I'm leaning more towards having a moral compass in society, whether it be religion or something else entirely that we're teaching, is very important. And I think that's the point that I'm really trying to get here with this question, right? Or at least for me, you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, it kind of leads into what the next thing we're gonna talk about is how we define spirituality, right? Mm. Because most people, I feel like, only see religion they only experience or learn spirituality through a religious lens, right? And they never really think about how that spirituality ties into really everything, whether you're religious or not. Yes. Right. So really, my question is, like, how do you define spirituality in your own words, and how do you think that, like, being not religious, that plays into your everyday type shit?
So, like, to me, especially personalizing with my situation, and how, I feel about religion, how I feel about most of the things that go on in religion, I feel as though spirituality is more of, like, the sense of being. So, like, we were talking about a little bit before we turned on everything, we were talking about the energy that you give off, and that you put out into the world, right? Like, regardless, if I don't give off good energy, this cat doesn't sit. You know what I'm saying? You don't have that calm vibe. You don't get that calm response. And the energy that you put off in the world, whether it's through people, whether it's through plants, whether it's through just anything, you know what I mean? It's always going to be reciprocated back to you, right? So to me, I look at spirituality as like our sense of that being. So not so much the energy we're giving off, because I think that's kind of a segregation or a section of that energy that we have to give, but it's the energy that we still hold as a being. The thing that when I met you, that energy that I'm looking at, that's what I think of as spirituality.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a really perfect definition, and it really correlates with my definition too, because for me, it's like, in a few words, I think it just encompasses your overall connection with yourself and the universe. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I think for me, that's the simplest way I've been able to put it in my own words. And
I felt like that's exactly where I was going with it.
You know what I'm saying? You fit in, and I felt that, and I know that you understand. I feel like a lot of people do understand, and it's one of those things, like we said before, where it's like, you can define it, but you can only define it to you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And this is I feel like where we want to take these conversations, where I want to enlighten people on, is the fact that, you know what I'm saying, like, you can create your own definitions. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can see things the way you want to see it, and you don't have to see things the way that it's given to you all the time. And it's perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? You're not hurting nobody. But,
not at all.
But yeah.
What you mean by that, though?
What's up?
What do you mean by that, though?
About what?
Like, see things the way you see them. So, like, if we were to walk outside, you and me at noon, look up and see a blue sky, but you said it's yellow. Like, but I see blue, we both see blue, but you say it's yellow. Like,
that shit is what it is.
I think where I was going with that is basically just, like, not being afraid to form your own opinion, instead of, like, accepting the opinions that is part of your outside reality. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Just making sure it was specified.
That's where I was leaning with that.
Sure,
yeah, like, because we can. Yeah, I mean, you can say that with what I'm saying, because it's very broad.
That, like, delusional, like, and, like, it's one thing, like, when you said it, because I was like, it's one thing to have an opinion on something, like you said, but it's also one thing to look at something blatantly and you both see it and you're just like, no, that's not it.
But even in the aspect of what you're saying, there's a sense of functional delusion and, like, non-functional delusion. There's people who can look up and say the sky is yellow, and that person's batshit crazy, but they can still go to work every single day and they can still swallow that and act
They can
normal.
still technically live a
That's what I'm
fulfilled
saying,
life.
and they're fine, but they still think the sky is yellow. They still think that. They swear by it.
That's kind of like
Flat Earth.
You know
It's these certain things that people will go ahead, do what you got to do. I have no problem with it, but just keep it over there, and I'll stay over here.
Yeah,
and that's how it goes. That's how it should
If we
go.
staying on the point, it's just to say, like, you know, maybe think, you know, you can think other ways instead of, you know, being locked in a religion that you were born into. You know what I'm saying? That's a perfect example of what we're talking about right now. You know what I'm saying? You know, segueing into the next thing, I kind of want to talk about, you know, God. You know, come on, guys. So basically, how do you interpret the concept of God, and what is that to you? Type shit.
All right, so sticking with the energy thing, right? To me, our energies come from and are fed by whatever it is we conceive as God. Now, whether that is a personified person, like figure, whether that's a cow, whether that is an elephant, some cultures think whatever it is, to you, that's what it is. But to me, it's the source essentially of the energy that we know as consciousness and we know as spirituality. It's the thing that feeds every one of those pillars, not just the one. And what that is, I don't know. And like we talked about again before, I feel very comfortable with the fact that I'm not gonna know. I'm still very interested in what it is, because I think that to just go my whole life without understanding why it is that I blink and I see things and I hear things and I am the way I am is not acceptable. But I understand that I will never understand.
Right. And if you can come to that point where it's like no one is ever going to have like the absolute fact, then it really, then you can only fall back on, you know, your own interpretation. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
You know, and it's just like, it's going on that. And I feel like for me, with my concept of God, I feel like when people, or when religions, I guess, talk about the concept of God and their whole thing with the whole omnipotent being who's, you know, controlling everything, you know, he's controlling your fate, he sees you all the time. To me, I kind of separate the two things, because to me, as far as I'm concerned, in my interpretation, I'm the author, me personally, and you are too.
Agreed.
And you are too. And this is kind of just my worldview. So you are the author, right? You are the controller of your fate in that sense. So in your reality, right, you are in that sense God, right? So who? I'm God. No. Well, if we think about it, and we really break this down, even the biblical texts talk about shit like this, you know, verbatim. They say, you know, God created man in His image, right? So what does that mean? You know, like, we have to kind of read between the lines with shit like this. And, you know, I like to kind of look back at the scriptures and really try to, like, interpret things in my own way, because there is a lot of wisdom in there. There is. But as far as that goes, yes, I'm the author. But as far as the whole everything and energy, what you're saying, I totally agree. I think God, to me, if I think about God, I think about everything. God is the all-encompassing energy that is ever present. You know what I'm saying? That would be my definition, I guess, in my own interpretation or worldview. You know what I'm saying? It's the ever-present energy that is always there and never ceasing. You know what I'm saying? When we talk about consciousness, like, that's us. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are the conscious beings, but the energy is what surrounds us and is what encompasses everything. And that's what I think I interpret as God when we think about it and interpret it like that. You know what I'm saying?
I agree, because I feel as though if there wasn't like a separation in those two things, you know what I'm saying, there wouldn't be a reason for us to have that type of independence. He gave us consciousness to conceive things. You have to have your own thoughts.
Yeah, you can say, Lou?
I see literally a creator. And like you said, He made a bunch of us in His image, which is all of us. So I see a kind of a creator, like, being in creative mode. Made a couple mini hymns, just watching. That's what the free will part is, you know, us deciding what to do with our lives, us being the author. But, you know, we exemplify aspects of whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you were saying, it's everywhere, because it made everything. It has to be in everything. It's in us. You know, we are mini creators. If not, that's what we're doing right now. And everything we can do, we can tie it back to an aspect of it. So
Exactly.
Are you good?
And I also, like, I like that, you know, what you said, like, because that's a good way to look at it, because the energy that's being given, I think a very good misconception is that the energy is being given to be controlled. You know what I'm saying? As if
That's the
God
consciousness is.
Yes, exactly. But in reality, the energy is being given for us to control, for us to do something with it. Like, go do something with this.
Right.
That's it's that same power as to be like everybody wants a superpower. Like, what do you mean? Like, we basically are fucking superheroes. Think about any other
I'm
being
glad
on
you,
this planet.
You know what it is?
I'm glad you brought this
It's
up.
the accountability. And like, we like to grow up and like blame stuff on how we grew up in our environment, which does play a part. But when you're part all-powerful being, and a lot of people don't believe that they're part all-powerful motherfucker.
We have free
You're
will.
a literal anomaly.
We have free will.
That's like, you're a literal anomaly with free will.
Yeah,
everything
Even
else,
regardless
bro.
of everything, you can do anything. There's people who've come out, like, yeah, it sounds like a fantasy story, but you can come out the slums in Africa and be a fucking billionaire. It's possible.
Just do it.
It might be the hardest thing ever,
But
but you can still do it. It's not impossible.
might be some luck
See,
in there.
that's
but
why,
you
like,
can do it, bro.
like everything that we're saying is connecting with what I wanted to bring up, and I actually just remembered this. Like, I didn't write this down or anything, but I want to kind of go back to scripture a little bit too, biblical, just so we're clear. Back to like the story of, you know, Eden type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, my interpretation is that before they ate the apple, you know what I'm saying, man was just like animals type shit. You know what I'm saying? When they ate the apple signifies free will. You know what I'm saying? I got a tattoo of this shit. That's how much that this story kind of like resonates with kind of my worldview. And it's like, when they ate the apple signifies the free will, you know what I'm saying? When they ate that, that's when everything changed, you know what I'm saying? That's what separates us from the animals, you feel me? And this is actually a perfect segue into the next topic. How do we view the afterlife? See, because we have to understand that religion only really came forth because, well, not really only, but like one of the biggest reasons why religion has been a thing is because the afterlife is a question that no one has ever been able to be solved.
Can I interject a question
shit.
before we get to that?
What's up?
How do we feel about the woman eating the fruit first, if it technically is what ascended our consciousness?
Listen, I'm gonna say two things. I'm not really gonna say anything in response to that, but I'm gonna just give you two facts, right? In the scripture it says, right, and y'all can fact check me if you want. I'm almost certain on this, or I should be certain, is that, you know, God made Eve for Adam out of him, you know what I'm saying, out of his rib or whatever, right? And another thing that I know, and this is not even like a biblical fact, is that the term evil that we come to know in English stemmed from Eve. Yeah. So I'm gonna just lay those two facts out, and I want to dodge that question because that's a trap.
Nah, check me out. Because now what you're saying is, even though she ate the apple, it was still an aspect of man that ate the apple.
Of course.
Yep. Because still, those mentalities and everything would still.
Them wheels are spinning now, huh? It's kind of crazy when you interpret it.
But
and
what
like,
makes Eve so different? You know what I'm saying? That she had to eat the apple first. Like,
Isn't that the whole thing?
It illustrates a lot of things that I kind of don't want to say right now, and we can talk about it more later. I can tell you what that interpretation, or at least my interpretation of that is, but I kind of want to go super deep into that whole thing because we're gonna venture into some territory that we're gonna talk about next week, actually. But yeah, the afterlife, right?
Yes, sir.
How do we view the afterlife? Because like I was saying, like, you gotta understand historically, like a big reason why religion even came forth is to answer that question. You know what I'm saying?
Ain't no
Each culture kind of had to answer that question differently. So the question is, you know, now that we're independent thinkers, or whatever you want to call us, you know, what have we settled on as far as the after, or have we settled on anything?
There's two things. Well, actually, it's three things you can settle on. One, if there is one, it's one or two places: a good or a bad place.
Mm-hmm.
Two, there's probably no place. Three, we just gonna miss each other when we gone. But look, for real, in every religion it's the same. There's a good and a bad place. So if you believe in the afterlife, there's only one thing you can believe in. It's a good or a bad place. You know what I'm saying? And either that or you believe in nothing. There's really no in between. So
I'm gonna break it down. Will, you got something?
Yeah. So I think that we're made to forget things, and I think that there is a consciousness that's perceivable before we're born, and I believe that there is a consciousness perceivable after we're dead. I don't think that it's something we can fathom in our current reality. I don't think it's something we could even really understand. I don't, in my mind, really believe that the energy could just cease if it's something that's so powerful that like it's got to create dreams to continue things in your sleep type just to calm you down, right? So for it to just die out, it just doesn't make very much sense. No, I can understand obviously outside circumstances, whatever, but to me, I feel as though the good or the bad place that most religions speak about are not so much a location or destination, but a feeling or sense of self.
Polarization of the soul.
It's how you feel in that darkness. It's not. It's if you're in a good place or if you're in a bad place, and I think that's fucking terrifying even to think about, even to say it. But I think it's more so how you feel when you die, and then you're stuck. That's the last feeling you have. Like that's it, and that's all you got to sit with you forever.
And you know what's scary about that feeling? Because they say death is the closest thing sleep is the closest thing we're going to experience to death. I don't dream. I straight up just stop dreaming.
It's the weed, man.
It might be the weed, but like...
It is, no, I swear. If you stop smoking, I think you got to stop smoking for 10 to 14 days. And when you do, by the end of that, you'll go into this crazy cycle of having like extremely realistic, vivid dreams. And there'll be some nightmares, some good ones, whatever, but all your dreams are going to come back like real fast and vivid, and then they're going to kind of like taper back off.
That's going to be lit.
Dreams are a whole nother...
But you got to stop smoking entirely the whole time, completely.
Dreams are a whole nother conversation.
Give me like 20 years.
We talked about nightmares on our other shit.
But it's the weed though, because I don't dream either.
I think what you were saying, Will, though, it aligns again like pretty good with my worldview. There's a couple things that I would definitely say. Also, in that, yeah, fucking. So, as soon like when I started straying from religion, like obviously, you start straying, but you also start looking for your own answer. Obviously, naturally, yes. I would think, right? And so I came to my answer kind of just through deduction. Like it was a lot of deduction, and I just kind of came to it and broke it down like this. So
I think that's the best way to get to it.
So basically, you gotta understand like the fundamental principle of the universe that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the notion that you die and everything shuts off is kind of invalid to me when thinking about that.
Before you continue, and this is me agreeing with you, this is why I can't agree with people who believe in nothing after, because it's like if scientists observe a literal consciousness and they tell you when you die they don't know what happens, it doesn't just disappear, obviously. But continue. Yeah,
like I'm saying, like energy is neither created nor destroyed. So we know what happens to our physical body when we die, right? This is our physical energy, right? I'm trying to break this down kind of simply as I can. But we obviously don't know what happens to our mental energy, our spiritual energy, the energy that obviously makes us. You know what I'm saying? That has to go somewhere because, like I said, based on the principle, it can't just disappear, right? So what I came to is this, right? As humans, we have to realize that we're the most conscious beings in this existence, right? Yeah. So in this reality that we live, like as humans, like we have the most power, we know the most, like this muscle we have in our head is the strongest, no doubt about it. So in my deduction, it wouldn't make sense, right? Because where I'm going is reincarnation, right? Obviously, because the energy has to go somewhere, so it's gonna go either way. So let me keep breaking this down before I get ahead of myself. So you're building all this conscious energy through a life, right? Like we said, humans, a lot of it, right? So with my deduction, I feel like it didn't make any sense if, as a human with, like I said, all this conscious energy, that you would get reincarnated into something lesser, you know what I'm saying? Like, an animal or something that is also sentient, but is not on the same level, you know what I'm saying? So with my deduction, it's like, okay, so I know if your energy has to go somewhere, which kind of means resurrection in some form, right? And you're not going to go down. That means you have to ascend somewhere, somehow, right? Yes. So, I remember when I was thinking about this, it was kind of like a woman, because I was thinking about that in conjunction to like religion, and I'm thinking about how like all the religious texts, they say, you rise up into the heavens, you know what I'm saying? You ascend, you go, like, to me, the best way, or my best answer, is that you go to a higher dimension. You know what I'm saying? If your vibration is high enough, you know what I'm saying? If you don't live a fulfilled life, because this is where the scripture like does it. If you don't live a fulfilled life, then you will not, like, you know what I'm saying, your spirit, your energy will not ascend to that next like dimension or whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? You will stay here. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's why, you know, and a lot of people I talk to, like, the way I see reality, like, this is hell. You know what I'm saying? And where we're trying to go in life, and to reaching that fulfillment and all the dreams that we're chasing, that's what we're chasing, heaven, basically. You know what I'm saying? Heaven is what you create. Hell is just reality. You know what I'm saying? That's my interpretation of that. It's kind of a little tangent. But John, want to add anything?
No, I fuck with that.
So, wait, two things. I felt as though this was how I felt that way a while ago, but I've also kind of realized we're on a higher level of consciousness than he is, and a lot of things on this planet.
Facts, you know what I'm saying?
And hell is described as the lowest state of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd have to be at least maggots conscious.
Like a cell. Like
you
a
know
cell, right?
Yeah, literally like that. But like there's also the fact of, and this is why humans are so interesting, and that's why they're so special, even if you don't want to believe it. In creation, in any religion,
mm-hmm.
humans are the only species or beings in which they are created and they can either ascend in consciousness or descend. Every other being is already higher than us,
Mm-hmm.
or just lower, and they won't go. Like, this cat could probably die and it'll evolve into a human and then probably go through the cycle and go up, alright, whatever. But like celestials,
The higher, you know,
like,
the higher, you know what I'm saying? Like, the shit that that's the shit that we can't comprehend,
the
right?
Invisible, like,
you know what I'm saying?
And
like,
they have different names in every religion, but they're there, and then you hear in the stories, like, they were all this force, and then some of them get casted down. Some of them get reduced in consciousness. Like, literally. And we're the only beings in all of creation that can literally just go up.
do y'all think that that religion is kind of like a stepping stone in our consciousness as a species, almost?
I wanted to
like,
talk about that when
do you
you
think,
were talking about how it was changing, like, how people think.
Right.
I think that was important because he was, like, saying, like, it was evil for you
Mm-hmm.
to not be religious.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're in a day and age where it's more like, now you have to use your discernment to know, because we're living in a day and age where it's so misconstrued,
Mm-hmm.
and that the Bible talks about that, and that's the funny thing about the Bible. And like he said, it's a good moral compass. It talks about the shit that we're going through.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's why you kind of have to believe it to a certain degree, because it's not lying to you. It's telling you there's gonna be a day and age where all this shit is gonna be so misconstrued, nobody's gonna know what, and it's gonna be literally the spirit of the Creator telling people, look, this is it, this is not it. And you have to have that, like, mindset to know, like, what somebody's telling you, bro, that's not it. It's what you believe, and you have to get that deduction by yourself. Like, you have to get that reasoning by yourself. Like,
I feel you, bro. And I feel like this is why we kind of have to kind of discern this, because you have to think about historically, society was more or less the same. You know, obviously technologically no, but you know, as far as religion and like the moral code of society, like it was more or less the same until like about 50, 60 years ago, you know what I'm saying? When, you know, we have all these civil rights, we have, you know, feminism and all this bullshit happening back in like the 50s, 60s, 70s.
Different genders.
Right.
They're trying to make it legal for kids to consent to sex.
So you have to understand that like this moral compass was so rigid and so like ingrained in us for so long, and now it's like only like our parents' generation maybe has felt it in us, you know what I'm saying? So we're like the new generation coming through with new ideas, so we have to kind of like, you know, discern, like, and that's what I kind of wanted to talk to, like, if religion like phases out of society, so say one day it is actually gone, right? How do you think we should move forward with the spirituality, right? Because we know that is always ingrained in our being. You know, we have the mental, the physical, and the spirit. It'll always be a part of us, and it's always going to be an important thing to have, you know what I'm saying? And it goes with the moral codes, and it goes with all this stuff that the scriptures say. And yeah, so basically, stop rambling. My question is, how do we move forward if we're not fucking with religion anymore? You know what I'm saying?
It's going to be a choice, just like it is right now. Like, if there isn't an active agenda trying to get people to, like, actively, like, you know, stay away from that shit, it's going to be people choosing, like, it's kind of like today. Like, I'm saying it like it's going to be the future, but it's kind of like what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like he said, people are alienated for being Christians, for going to church.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of people, like, you got to know you're going to be part of that group. Some people aren't going to fuck with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still going to want to do it.
What you think?
And it's going to be the same thing in the future.
I feel like it's like, it's kind of, So, religion is like, when it comes to that question, because I feel like to believe in religion, like you're saying, and you're going to be completely alienated or like not accepted by all these other people because for some reason most people are so encompassed in their personality versus like anything else, like these random traits that almost never are significant. How I feel today is the defining trait of my whole being. And that changes every day though, so how can it be the defining state of your being? And then when you get into things like the genders and all that stuff, I think that like all those things start to push these boundaries of these morals. And I think basically what's going to happen is when we lose religion, we're going to lose that parent like or guardian like figure, the compass that makes it so that right is wrong and wrong is right. And when there's no determination of that, I think that's going to pretty much be when we start to decline as a species.
And brother, like, you know, and I was going back and forth with it because it's like, I was like, okay, so we have no more religion, but, you know, the ideologies and principles are still going to persist. So, like, I was deducing and I was thinking about it and I was like, wait, hold up. When they're just, you know, immediately I was like, okay, well, there'll probably just come a new religion, right? And then when I came to that realization, I was like, fuck, New World Order, fuck, it's a conspiracy. Like, my tempo, as soon as I think about that, but it's almost crazy to think about because it's like, these principles have to go somewhere, you know what I'm saying? We have to pass them down in some way because we know what's good and we are still somewhat attached to these, right? Yes. But before we're fully attached, we have to figure out how we're gonna pass this down because as soon as all the Bibles are gone, you know, and the books are burned or whatever you want to say, you know, like, you know, where do we go from there? You know?
Like if the Bible was setting the precedent for these are morals. So now the government comes in and they have their laws, which is basically the same thing. Like when you look at laws, it's really just extensions of laws from the Bible. They literally took the same things, the same. It's societal code, and as people grew, as people came in society, you know, got bigger. They had to add more like guidelines just to like, you know, to get deeper in depth. You know what I'm saying? Thou shalt not kill. Well, what if somebody's trying to kill me? You know, and I have to kill him and something. That's kind of what laws are. Laws are they started as we're taking the Bible, we're copying it, and now there's these random situations coming up that okay, we might have to see from this person's point of view, so we have to figure out how we're gonna handle it. So now in the future, how we're gonna go about it, like if there's still a government, that's what it's gonna be. The government's gonna be telling you this is right or wrong, and it's up to the people to be like, I agree or not. Like. Hey, that's why, a controversial one. I mean, we're in a good time and day and age for it. That's why weed is now becoming legal, but it's still illegal to sell it.
That's why it came to that crazy realization with like, you know, the New World Order and the government taking over and shit. Because I mean, people have been chatting about these type of conspiracy type shit for a minute now, and people have been feeling this shit for a minute now, and it's like you kind of see it because even with the culture, you know what I'm saying, like the culture.
And it all comes from people. Like, that's the weird thing about it. Even those same 10 laws, like those same first 10 laws, we can say like God spoke to somebody, but somebody still wrote that down. Yep. You know what I'm saying? A person had to sit down and be like, you can't do this or that and the third. This. And now it's just people doing the same thing.
That's why I think that like, and I truly believe this, that our generation is the most important generation that's ever existed. And I'll tell you why. Is this fact is because this conversation we have right now, like it's a very interesting and perplexing conversation. It's cool to think about, but it's an issue. Like it's a current issue. And the reason why I'm saying this like very loudly is that like we're in the middle. We have to think, right? Like this new generation, they're probably gonna be too far gone. You know what I'm saying? Like we kind of had our foot in the door and out the door when it comes to this new technological wave of culture that has come. You know what I'm saying? We remember what it was like beforehand, before everybody had a phone in their hands and all that shit, right? And everybody was still connected, right? And we obviously have adjusted now after, right? And so you can see what I'm saying. So we kind of, some of us have this clarity, and so we kind of have to move forth and kind of get together and be like, all right, what's what? You know what I'm saying? Because we got to think about the legacy, bro. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, the way I break it down, that's the legacy is what it's all about, and that's why we have these conversations, man. Because even though we can't sit here and just pinpoint like, okay, we need to do this, like we couldn't do that obviously as us, but just talking and pontifying about it helps you kind of like think, because all you can really change is your reality, right? All that I can pass down is whatever I know to my offspring or type shit, and to obviously whoever I touch and connect with along the way, and that's it. And I'm only one person, so it's like, you know, that's why we here, bro. That's why we here. We're trying to just have a message out here. You know what I'm saying? The good music, the good conversations, the good vibes on, bro. You know.
You know what? And I'm thinking about it, and there's probably one moral thing that you can run by that really encompasses everything. It's just the golden rule, and it's called the golden rule for a reason. Do unto others as you would have like them doing to you. Or something. Did I say it right just now?
No, you did. No, you said it. You said it fine, and we all know. We all know the classic adage, and like I feel like that it seems corny in a way, but like we have to like really look at it and interpret it as like, and remember that our connectedness, you know what I'm saying? Because whether or not we want to admit it, like nobody really wants to admit it, but you know what I'm saying? Having the phone in our hands all the time and this new technological shit is eating away at our spirituality and our connectedness, and it's gonna become an issue, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I'm trying to highlight it right now, and y'all might call me crazy. Y'all might be like, you're bugging, bro. We more connected than ever. No, bro. Bro. Not us. We you know, y'all know.
If you think about it, and most of the conspiracy theories that people complain about and that they go through and they think about are almost all true.
You know, they came up with the term conspiracy. The CIA came up with the term.
Yeah.
That's all other thing.
Bro, like think about it. Like they used to talk about us all being attached to these little things.
Mm-hmm.
Them controlling everything we do and watching everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's right in front of us. And it just isn't a perceivable thing because it's so slow onset that you're just like, oh, it's normal.
Mm-hmm. Our generation watched those conspiracy theories come into literal life. Like, shit, we'd watch videos about people who get made fun of, like, you're crazy, this is going to happen, and be like, you're crazy, and we watch it happen. Like, literally, it was like, it literally just happened. Like,
we're
just right
so
there.
conditioned that we film.
Like I was saying,
I'm about to get you demonetized, bro. But the government literally had a case on child trafficking, and COVID hit. Like, that doesn't sit like it, and everybody forgot. That doesn't. Nobody sits here and thinks about that.
We've seen. We've all seen it. We all see it.
Just dead it, bro.
We all
Our
see
generation
it. And we just
watched
pretend
it.
a whole movie, and we all were just like, "Yep, they're gonna just kill him."
We all see it,
and they just killed him
because and that's why it's so scary, because like our generation now, none of us trust the government now. You know what I'm saying? Like we all see the shit, and like even though a lot of us don't want to talk about it, like everybody kind of like all I'm saying, everybody has that like sneaky in the back of their head, like whatever.
And it's always towards the government. It's always towards the fucking big them.
Like the mistrust has been growing as these things have been happening that we've all seen. And what I'm trying to like point at is the fact that like we're not going to trust them for our guidance moving forward. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm saying, like our generation, we all feel like this, and I already know. So we're not going to trust them for guidance moving forward. So we have to look inward. You know what I'm saying? But if we succumb to this new culture that we see, you know what I'm saying, and just divulge, this culture it only feels bad. It only feels bad because, like I was saying this before we even started rolling, bro. Like about the Euphrates River, bro. They say in the Book of Revelations that that's just gonna dry up when the world's about to end, bro. I looked on the fucking news. Y'all can look it up. It's like Euphrates River drying up. I'm like, bro, what?
It's just a shame.
It's crazy.
It's getting there. That's how you can tell. It's just getting there. Like
it's like. It's frustrating because it's the same thing as like everything, Black Lives Matter, like everything, like it's always going to be a train that you can't stop. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't
woven
matter.
into everything. It's
just this shit was always faded. I just hope that we die quick. You know what I'm saying? I hope that it's quick. And I hope we all just fucking we're at peace.
When they talk about Yellowstone erupted,
my fucking storage just fucking died, but we still rolling on the audio.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, no worries.
But yeah,
I had like 10 gigs, bro. That shit crazy. Anyway, we've been chatting for a minute.
But for real though, that's
we
just...
live and we learn. We live and we learn. Apple.
Yeah, man. I
Apple
mean,
out
we
here advertising phones for camera use, and and this shit runs out of memory 10 minutes into recording. Like, okay, what am I getting done with
Hollywood like production.
10 minutes? Thanks, bro.
Because you ain't supposed to.
I just paid $12K for 10 minutes. I would have got the damn camera in the first place.
Bro, that's what I'm saying.
Like what?
Bro, they don't care about that shit. They care about, yeah, get on that Snapchat, get on that TikTok, get on that Instagram, get on that Facebook, YouTube. Record your life.
Everything's woven in. They was telling you, they were like, yo, your phones are going to be listening to you. They're going to hear what you want and they're going to give it to you. And people were like, you're crazy. And we literally watched ourselves talk about what we wanted, went on the internet, and the ad pop up in front of our face. Like, yo, I need a new pair of sneakers right now. Google.
Bro,
ad.
The dude who made the fucking program that hacks all of our shit came out and said, I made a program that hacks all of your shit. He's in Russia because he's made that program on the run.
Snowden?
I was just watching
and like
that
that's
video
what I'm saying.
about
Like
that.
he's literally like, this is real.
We see
And
this.
we're just like, oh, it's just a movie.
We see this stuff.
Like, and it's not. We don't do anything.
Bro, the documentary, the person he's talking about, I literally was just watching the documentary last night. Literal paperwork you can go read online right now. The CIA was trying to kill that man.
Murdered, like didn't
Like,
care, like that's it.
Literally,
like,
they're like, don't care what you do. Get rid of that man.
Security risk, take him out.
Of course.
Bro, the girl she got raped on the train in Philadelphia on the L.
Bro, I was hearing about
in front
that story,
of all
bro.
those people. People were recording that shit.
Yeah,
that's
what?
sick.
My girl was telling me this shit, and I
People were
literally,
recording it.
I'm literally
Like
sitting here like,
they didn't even
what's actually
fucking
going
do
on?
anything. My girlfriend rides the L, bro. Like what? You didn't do anything? You recorded it?
This is what I'm saying about connectedness.
That river
bro.
dried up for a
The,
reason.
the connectedness.
That river
It's
dried
the
up for a
morals,
reason,
bro.
bro.
That shit's gone.
That river dried up.
It's all encompassing in this conversation we're talking about with the
Yes.
spirituality.
How do you
That's
watch
what I'm
that
saying.
happen?
And it's just fine.
How do
They
you sit in a room with that happening?
From start to finish, they left her there.
we're
And then
disconnected,
the
bro.
cop found her just sitting there. And he found the dude putting his clothes back on and was like, what the fuck? Why did nobody what?
It's because we're disconnected.
And
That's what I'm
everyone
saying.
around was just like, well, what were we supposed to do?
That's what
Call
I'm
you?
saying.
Beat the fuck out of him?
Beat the fuck? Get that? What,
You think
what?
the cop is gonna arrest you for
He's
that?
not gonna do shit.
The cop is literally gonna be like,
But
what
they
just
think
happened?
that.
He was
They
raping
think
them, and we
that.
beat the fuck out of him. A cop is literally gonna look at you and be like, okay.
But people
like,
think that.
literally gonna be like, all right.
People are scared
Like,
to do the shit that's morally right because they don't know where that line's on, because most of these laws and these things that we have set in place cross those lines. And they tell us that doing things that aren't okay are okay.
It's sad that he said that. It is sad because there's a part of you that can relate, because you know if you put your hands on them, you could potentially get charged.
That's what I'm saying, and that's why nobody touched that dude.
Listen, I think the overarching point that we've been just hitting this whole time, it's been beautiful. It's just the fact that we've seen the government, the trust in the government and the control is slipping. It's visible, literally visible. That we no longer can really turn to them as our guide, and then we have to look inward. You know what I'm saying?
You can't recreate things, and the government is just a constant recreation of the last thing. It's just a bunch of people having a pissing contest. So I want to have the best presidency. I want to have the best campaign. I want to have the best this and that, and they're just in constant competition with each other. The war on drugs was all just because they wanted a better thing.
Yeah.
And what
the only thing I'm gonna say is that if we're gonna, you know what I'm saying, it's like if we're moving forward with no clear moral compass, right? And we know that we need it.
We know
we need it. Like, okay, then it wouldn't hurt for us to look back at the shit that was working for fucking thousands of years,
because
right?
There's clear patterns.
Clear patterns,
defined
clear
patterns.
principles, clear, like...
When you're upset, go outside.
Breathe,
when you need
meditate.
to chill.
Like, we can
Get
separate...
in touch with yourself.
Yes.
Farm some shit.
Yes, and it's like, and we think we know, right? A lot of us are gonna think like, oh yeah, like I came up on that.
We don't know shit.
I know the principles. I know, like, bro, like it has to be ingrained in us. You know what I'm saying?
That's why there's a whole book.
We don't know literally anything.
And nowadays, when we're being flooded with, see, it's why, again, like
The
I say,
creator
that we are
knew.
the most important and the greatest generation that ever existed, because we have greater encyclopedia in our pocket all times. Like, we are able to access information, you know,
and we don't do nothing with it
in the blink of an eye.
Because humans are flawed. And we were flawed from the jump, and we're always going to be flawed. And that's the thing that, you can't really just, like, get around. And That's why these things are always going to be the same. That's why the creator, that's why God, whatever you want to call it, that's why he was always right, because when he made us, he knew, oh, this is, you know what I'm saying?
And right here.
And this is exactly how this can go. It's either going to go this way or it's going to fucking go this way. And when you guys see it going this way, you better stop. Because this is your flaw. The arrogance and the greed and all of these things, the devil, those flaws are the things that just couldn't be created out of us. It is what it is. But also, there's reasonings for them. They help us survive. They help us thrive as a species. But morally and ethically and things like that, like, they destroy it, and you can't keep those at the same time.
You gotta know how to keep.
It's a balance.
Yeah.
It's a balance.
So, I mean, in conclusion, I'm gonna just say that, you know, as the new generation, the most important generation, you know what I'm saying, as we're coming up with these new ideas and searching for these answers, you know what I'm saying, like, everything is being given to us now at an alarming rate, and some people really can't handle it. But if you're lost, bro, just don't be afraid to look at what has been written for thousands of years, bro. The shit that had been working, right, until a certain period of time. Because, you know, I'm a very big history person, because I definitely do believe that history repeats itself, and
we are the same. It doesn't matter if we have gaslight little candles as electricity, if we have no electricity, if we were in caves drawing on things, like, we always have the same tendencies. We needed to document things. We needed to trade things and cause currency and create order and organization within chaos that you can't organize. Like, we always have to do that. But
and every civilization felt the same exact way.
Until you build up.
That's not like, nobody looks at that and goes, we should probably do something different. No. Every civilization since the first civilization has literally ended the same way. They run for a couple centuries, war, falls apart.
Yeah, man. I mean, even if you deject the Christian or Jewish or, Islamic interpretation of God or whatever, as we move forward, like, we can't leave behind the principles, you know what I'm saying? Like, exactly. That's the overarching point, you know what I'm saying? We cannot leave behind these principles, and just because we've moved forward in our interpretation of reality and our worldview, and we are kind of falling by the wayside of these, old theologies, does not mean that, that's not valid, you know what I'm saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, and that's facts. So, yeah. We don't get out of here, y'all. Thank you again, Will. AstroLou, always welcome. Yes, you already know.
It was lit.
Appreciate you.
Keep an ear out for new music, new episodes of the podcast. Appreciate y'all for watching. I'm gonna catch y'all later.